I would like to show you how our body and our nervous system interacts with the feelings generated in response to our interaction with our environment. To do this, I'm going to use two objects. The first object is a Hoberman sphere. I'm going to use the Hoberman sphere to represent our body and our nervous system. Together, these are referred to as our neurophysiology. As you can see, the Hoberman demonstrates flexibility, adaptability, and responsivity. All these are important qualities for our body and nervous system to have if we are able to interact appropriately with our environment. The second object is a blue spiky ball. I'm going to use this to represent the energy of our feelings. Whenever we interact with our environment, our body and our nervous system generate energetic responses that we experience via our felt sense. For example, as sensations within our body. Such sensations also include our emotions. When we are healthy, our neurophysiology is able to work with our body's sensations and emotional energies as they move to communicate our experience of our external environment. Our neurophysiology is able to flex and adapt and also process and transform those energies into appropriate actions. For example, a muscular movement to move us away from something that isn't okay, or to move us towards something that is experienced as pleasurable. This then means that the emotional energy is reintegrated back into our physiology and we remain in balance and healthy. Sometimes the emotional energy generated in response to our environment is really big and feels unmanageable. In situations like this, our nervous system and our body will work together to manage the emotional energy so that it doesn't become dangerous within our body. Our nervous system and our body will work together to keep us feeling safe. There are two ways our nervous system works to keep us safe from big emotional energies inside. The first is to contract around the emotional energy to stop it moving, to work to contain it. And if that contraction is really strong, it acts to completely immobilise the emotional energy. We call this the freeze response. And when that emotional energy is no longer able to move, we are no longer able to feel it in our experience. We essentially become numb to it. The second way our nervous system can manage big emotional energies is to expand our sense of our body to the point that our sense of ourself becomes big and spacey. We call this dissociation. Like the freeze response, dissociation means we no longer feel the emotional energy moving within us. It's as though the movement of that emotional energy doesn't touch us on the inside. And again, we become very disconnected to it. We don't feel it. Both freezing and dissociating are all well and good for a while. But they both ultimately prevent the emotional energy being able to process and transform into completion of the action it was generated to actually do. So over time, we end up collecting unprocessed emotional energies in our body. Our nervous system then uses more and more freeze or dissociation to keep us safe. All the while, we are becoming more and more out of balance and inflexible and unresponsive to our environment. We then start to develop symptoms of our nervous system's management strategies. We become unwell. For example, we start to suffer pain in our muscles as they work really hard to contain all our unprocessed emotional energies. We might even start to become anxious, or we might start to experience uncontrollable emotions, such as emotional outbursts, like anger. So how to bring our body and our nervous system back into balance with our emotional energies? Let's look at the example of a body and nervous system that has chosen the freeze response as its management strategy to keep us safe from big emotional energies inside our body. To come out of a freeze response means that our nervous system needs to enable the body to relax its containment of the emotional energy. That means that the emotional energy will start moving again. And because such movement still feels unsafe for a part of our nervous system, it springs us back into management again. And we go back into the freeze response. Maybe over time, we feel a little bit more relaxed. And again, our body opens out and the emotional energies unprocessed within us begin moving again. But again, it feels unsafe, and again, our nervous system recruits the freeze response. We can experience this pattern over and over and over again, yo-yoing back and forth between slightly relaxed and back to freeze, again and again, actually getting nowhere with processing our emotional energies. What we need to do is to retrain that part of our nervous system that is unable to tolerate the movement of our unprocessed emotional energies. We need to help it find a different way to feel safe before it opts for the freeze response again. One of the different ways we can help it feel safe is something called orienting. And to give it its full name, it's called ventral vagal orienting, where ventral vagal actually relates to part of our nervous system. Ventral vagal orienting means to move our head and our eyes to look around whilst our emotional energies are moving within. Doing ventral vagal orienting a few times is most likely to cause us to take a bigger breath. This bigger breath indicates that the freeze response is now less strong in our chest. It is evidence that our nervous system is now working differently in the presence of our unprocessed emotional energies. If we keep practicing ventral vagal orienting when we feel our nervous system wanting to take us into the freeze, we can actually change our nervous system's response to the movement of our unprocessed emotional energies in our body. It enables our nervous system to regain its ability to connect to the movement of those emotional energies. And steadily, with practice, those emotional energies can actually get to the point where they are able to move a lot and get to the point where they can process and transform. Maybe that means that we are able to take that movement away from what didn't feel okay for us. The end result is that the emotional energy has processed, and our nervous system no longer needs to use its freeze response as a management strategy. And most importantly, our nervous system has now experienced a different interaction with our body's emotional energy. And if we build on this, we can recover a more healthy response to our emotions, and we can really help ourselves stay healthy.